Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game On Reactions. And if you're here, hit that like button, subscribe button as well. For those of you that have been watching the reactions, thank you very much. Getting some good numbers as well, being something really new. So let me know what you think about the reactions as well. And today we're going to be talking about the Arsenal versus Bournemouth game, and another win for Arsenal, another one in the books. And yeah, it was a fairly balanced game. I think the possession says that, it was 55 possession to Arsenal. But this game really should have been over in the first 10 minutes. It was really just absolutely crazy. I think everyone was lining up to take a shot. There was Saka, there was Havertz, there was Rice, there was Partey, there was Trossard. The goalkeeper was kept very, very busy in the first couple of minutes, and really the game should have been over. But Bournemouth are a really decent side since November, I think, and they've had a very decent record, going. So it really made this game not just one that we would just turn up and expect to get a result. And so I fully expected the way that the game is. And listen, we are approaching the last knockings of the season. It's two more games now. So every game is going to have just that little bit of, you just don't know, because you can't control everything. You've got referees to deal with, you've got things that may just blow up, injuries, all of that sort. You don't know what is going to upset the rhythm of any game. And that's why you always want to take that chance. And so the longer it takes, the more you start to feel a little bit nervous about whether it's going to happen, excuse me, whether it's going to happen or not. But Arsenal did the business, for Arsenal I think they understand the task at hand. They understand what it is. And listen, Pep says that he doesn't play mind games, but don't tell me it's not mind games. Because last season, if you remember, he was doing this whole thing about, oh, the players know if they lose a game, they're not gonna win the title, and he kept saying that, and yeah, you know what happened, and he started saying it again. So we just need not to fall for it. But the only thing is that I don't even know what else Arsenal can do. I think the damage has been done already. And if you look at all the games that are remaining for Manchester City, they've got Fulham away from home, they've got Spurs, and then they've got West Ham. And if you've seen those three teams play recently, you're thinking, with the likes of Haaland, scoring the goals that he is scoring right now, I don't expect Man City to drop any points. And listen, I think we're going to come back, we're going to talk about the Arsenal season. Has it been a good season or not? And, first of all, you can probably say the points total will be better than last season. So that's certainly an improvement. But I think at the same time, there's going to be some, reflections on again, on a season that could have been again. But hey, this is Manchester City. And like the Jose Mourinho's Chelsea that first time, where it was like, if you lose two games, then you're probably not going to win the title. And it was really like that. I think the margin for error was so low that you only afford to lose three games in the whole season if you wanted to win the title, because if you didn't do that, that was it. You were just not going to win the title. And I think Man City have raised the bar like that this season. But just going back to the game, we're just talking about anything can happen, and anything that can happen was the penalty. And listen, was it a penalty? Yeah, because the referee gave it. It was a penalty. And I'm not going to get caught up in all this. It was a light touch in the box, because honestly, right now, I do not know anymore. And I am not going to be... As Arsenal fans, we suffered enough from referees. We have. And I'm sure every fan will probably say the same thing as well. Penalties that they should have been given, decisions that they should have had, that they shouldn't have had. The off thing, listen, sometimes they draw the line, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just ignore it, sometimes they don't. It's for me, whatever those guys are sitting down somewhere at Stockley Park, whatever they agree is the decision, It seems like that's what it is. And, whether it's a decision that is favorable to the gang, and the mafia, they let it go. And you know who I'm talking about, you guys that I'm talking about, who are constantly bullying everybody else when decisions are for teams that they don't seemingly like. And they jump on that, to just make sure that their voice is heard. And that, brings me to this whole thing. If you guys have been looking at social media, seen a lot of the stuff about Righty talking about Bournemouth game. Come on, Righty. You're an Arsenal fan. You don't need to be adding to the noise that everybody else who's building an agenda against Arsenal is. You don't have to say anything. Why do you have to, add to the whole sort of, oh, it was not a penalty, the decisions were not. We don't need that from you. We don't need it. Don't do it. Because they don't do it either, right? And if you think, kidding, look at the game Man United against Liverpool. Remember the incident, Wan-Bissaka, and I think it was Harvey Elliott, and that created a penalty. Did you hear anything from them? Did you hear them go after the referee and all of that kind of stuff? No, they didn't. The two protagonists in this thing, Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville, nobody talked about it anymore. It was just nothing. So I don't need you adding to the noise, because you know what's going to happen. There's going to be headlines. Headlines, right? He said Arsenal shouldn't have had the decision. All of that. Just simmer it down. Simmer it down. I know you're trying to be unbiased, but hey, you're a fan as well. So, if they can get away with it, then I don't need you adding to the noise. But listen, good performance by Arsenal. First half, that's what you need. Get in front. And then the second half was just really about control. Really about control. And Arsenal had the players on the pitch, to have, that measure of control. Declan Rice put in another performance against Bournemouth. And it's funny because after that performance, was it after the performance? Where did Chelsea play? I can't remember the order. Arsenal played first, so definitely Chelsea would have played, afterwards. And just listen to what David Moyes said. The reason why West Ham are conceding lots of goals, is because of Declan Rice. Declan Rice has made a huge difference to Arsenal, and I'm gonna watch him. I'm gonna do a video just focus on Declan Rice and just because I just think that if the eye test alone, I think he's been incredible. Everyone's talking about the goal that he set up for Trossard and also the one that he scored as well. And listen, this is incredible performance, from Declan Rice. And coincidentally, that game was I believe, for Raya, making him win the Golden Boot. And this is probably the easiest Golden Boot, that anyone has made. And I know, everyone is going to talk about, give Raya his credit. But, there's questions to be had, because Ramsdale was in the team of the season last year. And he also kept a lot of clean sheets as well. So this is not a trend that, suddenly just, came in because Raya did. With Declan Rice in that team and a fully fit Saliba, would Ramsdale have kept the clean sheets? We'll never know, right? But, credit to him. He's kept the clean sheet. He deserves the accolade. So, fair play to him. He gets that. But anybody, fully convinced about Raya, 100% convinced about Raya, the way that, Liverpool fans, don't have any, doubts about Alisson, or Manchester City fans don't have any doubts against Edison, or even Villa fans don't have any doubts against Martinez. Because right now, those are the three, top keepers. And you could actually argue that Martinez is probably the best keeper, in the whole Premier League. And yeah, we had him and we let him go. So I don't know. I'm not, all the way there. You only just need to look at the performances and the mistakes that have been made, So, hey, let me know what you think. Do you think that Raya is now the undisputed number one and there is no doubt whatsoever, for Arsenal? And it's 2 games to go, guys. And do I think we're going to win it? Honestly, I don't think so. I Just look at, I think, first of all, I think we're going to win our next 2 games. I think we're going to go to Old Trafford. Bit of a bogey team, for us, especially at Old Trafford. But I think we're going to win that game. And then we play at Everton at home. Everton have nothing to play for right now. They're, effectively safe. So, do we win that game? I'm sure we will win that game. And so, in that Man City, play Fulham, first of all. I remember we're looking at Fulham as a game that, that might give some trouble to Liverpool. And you know what happened, in that game. So, would Fulham be able to put a performance that is enough to stop Man City from winning that game? I honestly don't think so. I honestly don't think so. I think Man City win that game. I think, they play Spurs and they absolutely wipe the floor with them. I mean, look at Spurs. They've played Newcastle, they've played Arsenal, they've played Chelsea, and they've played Liverpool. And what's common about all of those games? Losses. And, it seems like, the manager, and you know what, I can see some method in this madness. A game he'll play Bissouma with Sa, another game he'll play Madison, with Højbjerg. And it doesn't matter what combination he's using, it's still, resulting in a loss. That tells me that he's his strongest 11. And you can't blame him. None of these players are his players. So you've got to give him a chance to get his own players in. Who am I speaking for as Spurs manager? But my point is, I don't think that Spurs are going to be much of a threat against Manchester City. Just don't see it. They win that game and then it's down to West Ham. Yeah, let's move on because, West Ham are not going to do anything. Did you see what they did in their last game? Exactly. So, listen, it's probably too early now, to throw it in. Arsenal needs to do what they need to do. But I think it's going to take an absolute miracle, for Arsenal to win that title. And let's come back and pick the bones, from this season. Let's come back and pick the bones, potentially teams that, and why, it goes to clear that myth, around what you do against the big teams. Because arguably, you've taken 8 points from Man City and Liverpool, and we're probably not going to win the title. Probably not going to win the title. And everyone was about the game against Etihad, whether that was, a game that, Arsenal should have won. Listen, I still think it was a good point because I honestly believe that it's not just the game against the big team that decides it. If you beat the big teams and then you take points of the smaller teams, yeah. But if you don't, then it's just 3 points. It really is just 3 points. And the timing of when you play the big teams really do matter. It really does. When you play them in the last 10 games of the season, I think that it matters more than when you play them, before the last 10 games. Why? Because we're running out of games. And so if you take points off them, that's points that they do not have and they cannot get. But if you play the big team before the last 10 games, honestly, I don't really care what that result is. Because it's the last 10 games of the season, that's really where it matters. And Man City don't blink. They really don't. So, we'll talk about all of that. This was the reaction against Bournemouth. I've ended up talking about other things, but, that game, I think Martin Odegaard for me, was still my man of the match. I know everything was focused on Declan Rice, but did you see the pass that he gave to Havertz? The pass that was like a slide route pass in between like 3 players, and keeper made a majestic save. But it's the same sort of pass that he gave to Havertz that created a penalty. Odegaard is just absolutely unreal. And for me, I know that he's not going to get, all the credits and accolades, but I think, he's been Arsenal's exceptional player. I'll probably even put him right above Saka right now. I think that's how important he is, to that Arsenal team. Let me know, what do you think? Who's the most important, player for Arsenal? Is it Saka? Is it Odegaard? Or is it Saliba? Because I think there's a huge, case for Odegaard to being the most important player, for Arsenal. And I want to talk about something in another video. This debate between Saka and Foden. So check out that video that I'm going to be doing. Focusing on that. But hey, guys, thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe. We go to Old Trafford. Hopefully, we go and do the business. But let me know what you think. Until the next video. Thank you.